Hello and welcome to 2024. Yes, we are here. This video is going to have all the information you need to know about the transits and astrology of 2024, including horoscopes for each zodiac sign to help you work best with the energy this year. I'm Julia Kelly, an astrologer, an intuitive, and a human, and I'm very happy to bring these horoscopes to you today. If you're returning here, welcome back and thank you for your support. And if you're new here, welcome, and I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Before we dive in, I also want to share that I have 2024 readings open right now. If you're interested in getting a look ahead at what 2024 has in store for you, specific to your natal chart and the transits that we have this year, now is a great time to book a reading. I also want to update you all that I will be increasing my prices this year for readings, so now is a really great time to book one at the current rate. I'm also excited to announce that I will be sharing some more offerings here soon and later this year, including a multi-reading package. This is great for clients who book with me multiple times a year and who would like an opportunity to purchase a package that will guarantee a spot at the times that you want one this year. Some of those times may be pivotal changes in the transits, along with your birthday reading and anything else that you might want to dive into this year. If that sounds interesting to you, you can book a reading on my website at julia-kelly.com. As a note, this is the only place that I book readings, so please don't be scammed by anyone else. And if you ever have a question about a reading, you can always reach out to me on my website as well. All right, so let's dive into the astrology of 2024. That's what you're really here for. I hope all of you have had a great start to your year so far, or a chaotic start. What if that was how we greeted each other in the new year? It was like, I hope your year's off to a chaotic start. Well, this year we do have a lot of fire and air energy, so there might be a little bit of chaos, but have no fear, there's also going to be a lot of opportunity for invention, creation, and an emphasis on learning tools to ground into your environment and into your body. So I'm going to talk all about that, and I'm going to also share the important transits that you need to know. So I'm going to start by telling you about all the transits that we have this year, and then I'm going to break them down and talk about what you need to know about them and what they mean. So starting off, one of the most important transits that we have this year, perhaps you've already heard about this, is that Pluto will be entering Aquarius again. Pluto will be entering Aquarius on January 20th, and last year in 2023, it did enter Aquarius in March, but then it went back to Capricorn, and so now it's going to be re-entering Aquarius. And this year, Pluto will do a little dance between Capricorn and Aquarius again later this year, but then by the end of this year, Pluto's going to enter Aquarius for good, or at least for the next 19 years. So to reiterate, Pluto will be in Aquarius as of January 20th, and then it will stay there until September 1st. Then it will go back into Capricorn and stay in Capricorn until November 19th. By November 19th of this year, Pluto will re-enter Aquarius, and then it will stay there until 2043 for the next 19 years. So as you might imagine, this is a big deal, and I'll talk a bit more about that. Additionally, this year in May, Jupiter will be entering Gemini and leaving Taurus. So on May 25th, Jupiter will enter Gemini, and that's going to really contribute to the air energy this year, which again, I'll talk more about. And before Jupiter enters Gemini, we will have a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus on April 20th. Furthermore, among the major transits, we will also have Mars going retrograde at the end of the year in December. It will go retrograde in Leo and eventually move back into Cancer. And that's significant because we don't have a Mars retrograde every year. But speaking of retrogrades, yes, we do have some Mercury retrogrades this year, and surprise, they do come every year. This year, the Mercury retrogrades will primarily take place in fire signs, and again, that's really contributing to this fire and air energy that we will have in 2024. We started this year off with Mercury going direct in Sagittarius on January 1st, great way to start the new year, and we will end this year with another Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. In between then, we have a Mercury retrograde in Aries in April, and then we have a Mercury retrograde between Virgo and Leo in August. We will also have a lot of outer planet retrogrades, but since we do have those happen every year, I'm not going to spend too much time on those, though they are important to know. And this includes Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius, moving back to Capricorn, as I mentioned, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, Uranus retrograde in Taurus, and a Neptune retrograde in Pisces. Furthermore, the eclipses that we will have this year will primarily be in Aries and Libra, and this is significant because this will be our first full eclipse season in Aries and Libra starting in March. On March 25th, we have a lunar eclipse in Libra, and then closing out this eclipse season, we will have a total solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. And fun fact, that eclipse, the total solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th, will be visible in parts of the United States. And that first eclipse season that we will have this year, again from March 25th until April 8th, that's going to reflect the eclipse season that we started in October of 2023. So you can think back to anything that may have gone on around that time. There may be a cycle that completes by this first eclipse season this year in March to April. And furthermore, at the end of this year, on September 17th, we will have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. And this will be unique because it's going to open up the energy of the Pisces and Virgo axis that we will see more in 2025. And to close out that eclipse season, we will have a solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. So again, we'll have two eclipse seasons this year, one from March to April, March 25th to April 8th, and the second one from September 17th to October 2nd. And those will primarily be in Aries and Libra, but we will have one eclipse in Pisces, which will lead us into the energy of 2025. So as you can imagine, if you are an Aries or a Libra placement, this is a big year for you, and you can hear more about that in your horoscope. And to close out the list of the major transits in 2024, some of the major aspects that we will see between the planets are Uranus trining Pluto. This won't be exact, but it will be a wide orb. Another aspect that won't be exact will be Saturn coming into a wide conjunction with Neptune. They won't get very close, but them being in the same sign in Pisces is already pretty significant. An aspect that will be exact, which I mentioned earlier, is we will have Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Furthermore, we'll experience some squares between Jupiter and Saturn, being that they're both immutable signs. And lastly, we'll experience a lot of trines and synchronicities in the air signs this year between Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, Jupiter being in Gemini, Pluto being in Aquarius, and the South Node being in Libra. So what does it all mean? So now I'm going to talk about some of the overall themes that we'll see and the energy that will be present with these transits in 2024. So the biggest thing I want to start with and point to is that we have so much energy between the air and fire signs this year. This means that the air signs are activated and the fire signs are activated. As mentioned, we will have Jupiter entering Gemini, which is an air sign, Pluto entering Aquarius, another air sign, and the South Node is in Libra, another air sign. And furthermore, we will have the North Node in Aries, a fire sign. We will have the Mercury retrogrades taking place in the fire signs as well, hitting all three fire signs, Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries. And we will close out this year with a Mars retrograde in Leo, which is, yes, a fire sign. So that's a lot of fire and air energy going on. I'm going to talk about what this means, but in general, one of the things to note is that fire and air, they work well together when it comes to creating more fire. If you want to have a bigger fire, add air, add oxygen. So there is a lot that can come to the surface and become exaggerated or exemplified or magnified because of those qualities coming out in these elements. Furthermore, when we're thinking about all of the elements, so we have fire, air, water, and earth, there's a nice balance between these elements of the earth and water signs tending to be a bit slower moving, more grounded, more stable or solid in certain ways, especially just thinking about the elemental nature of them. And then the air and the fire energy, they add that yang to life, meaning the vitality of life, the breath of life, the force of life. So movement, busyness, change, transformation, a lot going on. And so when we have a year where we are mainly experiencing transits in fire and air and not so much in the earth and water, though we do have Saturn in Pisces, a water sign, Neptune's been in Pisces for quite some time, and we will have some other water energy going on. And again, Pluto will also take a dip back into Capricorn later this year briefly, and that will also be at the 29th degree, which is arguably already in Aquarius. That said, Jupiter will also start this year out in Taurus, which gives us a nice grounding going into the first part of this year. But by the mid to the end of this year, it's going to be a lot of fire and air energy. Thinking about those overall 2024 themes, especially related to this fire and air energy, a lot of what we can see and expect and tap into this year is the energy of invention, creation, entrepreneurship, starting things, seeing things with a new perspective, trying things out, experimenting. This is a year of planting seeds, not necessarily the year that you might see them grow. We're starting a new era when it comes to the generation that we will be entering with Pluto in Aquarius. And yes, that marks a new generation. There's a lot of information about what this means, and you can probably find a lot of different perspectives on that. But overall, it's turning the page of something that is the first time that we have experienced this in our lifetimes. Unless you've been alive since the 1700s, you have not experienced Pluto in Aquarius yet. And so just being alive at a time when Pluto's entering Aquarius is already really significant. Something else to point to in the transits this year is that we also will have a Mars and Venus conjunction in Aquarius. And whenever we have a year where Mars and Venus are traveling together, I like to see it as an opportunity to tap into and balance the masculine and feminine energies as a very traditional way of looking at that, but also seeing the more nuanced way of experiencing that, which is the blending of those two ideas, or the breaking of those stereotypes of what it means to be male or female, and rather going into a heightened experience of the masculine feminine energy as it relates to life itself beyond the tangible, physical, social form of what we think that means. So let's talk a bit more about Pluto in Aquarius specifically, because this is going to really have a lot to do with the themes that we were going to see this year. And a lot of that energy will be played out through the aspects that we'll experience through other planet transits, such as Jupiter entering Gemini and the South Node and the North Node, creating the eclipses that we will have in Libra and in Aries. So the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was in 1778. So yes, if you are alive right now watching this, you have not yet experienced Pluto in Aquarius. And this is why I like to say that with Pluto in Aquarius, it's really asking us to look at nuance, paradoxes, experiencing things that we haven't experienced before, and how that's going to show up in our daily lives. And when we think about nuance, it's essentially navigating something that isn't black and white, that isn't cut and paste, that isn't clear. And a lot of it too is going into a territory that is unknown. We can see this in a wider scale of looking at stepping into a time of society, of the world in a global way, where we have not yet experienced what the world is like with certain advancements in technology until now. And this is why it's a great time to tap into the invention and the opportunity to create and to lead that can come with this energy of Aquarius. Some of the overall themes associated with Pluto in Aquarius on a larger scale are money, finances, technology, which in between that we can find things like artificial intelligence, we can find things like cryptocurrency, the way that we have currency between people, individuals, societies, groups of people, nations, and so on. And furthermore, that energy being in Aquarius, it's also pointing to the archetype of Aquarius and how that will be exemplified. Aquarius can be associated both with the identity, the individual identity, and with the community and a collective identity, and what it means to have these two things overlapped or at times contradict. Aquarius often learns through opposition or contradiction, which may mean that there can be some division in order to see the truth of something or to see the idea between two things. In other words, one of the things that I see coming with Pluto in Aquarius is that it's going to be a time of really understanding what it means to identify with something or to have an identity. And again, when we bring in that idea of nuance, it's an invitation to transcend an identity or to transcend the attachment to an identity. This is a time where you might see people identifying with one way of thinking, one group of people, or with a certain way of seeing themselves, and switching their views as they grow and learn, or as they evolve through different experiences. Obviously, that's a great goal I think we can all have, is growing and learning through experiences and allowing our identities to evolve. But it's very human nature to want to hold on to who we think we are and who others think we are. But in a time where all of these things are rapidly changing and there's new information constantly being provided, which we will likely see even more of going into this era of information, this is a time where there may be a need to separate the information from the identity, to not say that as an individual or even as a collective that I or we identify with this piece of information, because this piece of information is changing, evolving, and it may not be the same in a few years or in a few decades. And to take a step back from all that, the theme that I really see is that this is an opportunity to just explore identity and explore what it means to identify with something. And this is a great time for shifts in communities, in the landscape of society. It's a time, again, where there's a lot of nuance, which may mean that we may see new technology emerge, new ways of interacting emerge, nations and the globalization of the world shifting and changing in ways that shift and change the communities that are affected and influenced by them. And so this is really a time to kind of zoom out and see, where do you as an individual fit into all of this right now? And what does it mean, or how have you been influenced by the society you're in, the community you're in, the nation you're in, the belief system you grew up with? These are the questions that may start to become a bit more natural during this transition into Pluto in Aquarius. Some other things we might see are changes in laws and privacy and protection, a need for more laws or more structure around certain systems, but also a rapid and radical shift in the existing structures and systems, which we've already seen start to disintegrate or shift over the last few years. Again, we can look back to 1778 to see some of the underlying themes that might come up around this time. But I like to say that because that was such a different time of the world, that again points to how right now is a time to be present in what exists currently that didn't exist before. We can find those themes and patterns, but this is a time where we have technology and communication that didn't previously exist in this documented history. And so there is an opportunity again to see, where are you at right now in all of this? And what do you see coming and changing and shifting? And how can you step into an energy of invention, creation, and even leaning in the direction of optimism? And I'll talk a little bit about why I think that is a great way to enter into this time in a moment. Expanding a bit more into that Pluto in Aquarius history, the last time that Pluto changed signs was when it entered Capricorn in 2008. So as many people know, in 2008, that was known as the financial crisis, and there were a lot of change in the systems, the financial institutions, and how that affected people in their daily lives. Now, Capricorn is a sign that has a lot of association with money and systems, and so Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And so now it's entering a new sign in Aquarius, and we may see that those themes that have been here in the world, in specific communities and nations as well, have gone through a change since 2008. And again, we can point to some of those things being just how currency has changed alone, how the internet has changed alone, and the new technologies that exist now. One thing I did want to point out that I found as kind of an interesting fact is that in 1778, through the history I found, this was when the dollar symbol was first created or used. And so that alone can just show how we have these ideas or symbolism created in society that really impacts the way that the world operates, and thinking about just the significance that the dollar symbol has had, not only in the economy, but also in the psychosomatic experience of being a human and what the dollar symbol is associated with. And thinking about now how we're entering an era where perhaps something like that is shifting. Maybe we won't use that anymore, for instance. So we're entering into Pluto and Aquarius with new technologies that we didn't have before. And by the time that we come out of Pluto and Aquarius, which again won't be until 2043, so 19 years away, so this is an era, a generation, by that time we can imagine that there's going to be even more technology and even more things that right now we may not even be able to fully conceptualize. Although, again, right now is a time of planting those seeds. So the things that are shifting and happening right now, it may seem like the roots are being pulled out of the ground, and it may feel that there's a bit of instability and insecurity, but thinking that this is a time of transformation over the next 19 years can be helpful to see how any changes that are happening right now are just natural to that planetary shift from one sign to the other. Pluto moves really, really slow, so when it changes a sign, it's really important. When Pluto enters a new sign, it can really represent a major shift in your lifetime, especially given our limited time in a single lifetime here on Earth. There's a lot of other great information out there on Pluto entering Aquarius, and if you're interested in learning more about it, I invite you to explore some of that information. It's really a great thing to look at and to study, and just to be aware of that we are in this era of change. And yes, we are here right now, and that is why things are changing. That said, again, I invite you to do more research if you're interested in this, but it's great to just be aware that it is happening and that yes, we are here and alive at this time of transition. And again, there's a lot of great history to look into, not just with Pluto entering Aquarius, but also just how it shifted signs over the years and what those have brought with it. So that said, I'm going to dive into some other transits this year and talk about how you can use tools to work with these transits and with the energy in 2024. So focusing now on Jupiter entering Gemini, this is also going to be significant. The last time that Jupiter was in Gemini was in 2012, and then prior to that was in 2000. And so that's a fun fact. We might have some Y2K themes coming back again, but perhaps in a different way than they were before, again, because we are in a very new era this year. That said, when we think about Jupiter, Jupiter can point to a lot of different things, traditionally being associated with growth, but also challenges. It essentially just exemplifies something. And one of the things that I like to look at with Jupiter is trends that are created, and yes, how those can cycle back around. Jupiter is a great planet to look at as it relates to your own personal astrology. So this would be a great opportunity to look back at what happened in 2012 for you, and then prior what happened in 2000, and to see the things that may have shifted in your life or the things that you've grown through and what you might be seeing currently in your life this year that could reflect those themes. That said, Jupiter's spending this first part of the year until May 25th in Taurus. And this is really great. I like Jupiter in Taurus for this first part of the year because, again, a lot of fire and air energy going on later in the year. And so Jupiter being in Taurus, leading us into the year, it's grounding, it's soothing. It gives us an opportunity to really ground into the body. And one of the biggest themes that I've seen with the Taurus energy, specific to Uranus being in Taurus, is an importance on focusing on the nervous system regulation, environmental connection with that, and how we can use tools to regulate and calm and soothe the nervous system. Some great things to explore with this are looking into attachment styles, looking into the ways that you are used to handling stress in your life. This is a great time to practice new habits, build new routines, start something that is going to help you in the long run as it relates to your health, to your body, to your somatic experience. And those tools will be great to carry with you into the latter half of this year. And so again, to reiterate that, Jupiter being in Taurus, Taurus is an earth sign ruled by Venus. It likes to move slow, it likes to be in the body, it likes to sense and feel things. And so while it's still here, it gives us an opportunity to really solidify some tools and practices such as meditation, a yoga, body work, anything that might be helpful to get into the body. And using these tools will be really great for the rest of this year when we have more of that fire and air energy. That said, because we also have that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus in April, prior to it moving into Gemini, that's a time where things may also become a bit heightened, things may come to the surface, and those tools will be very important to use. Again, I see a lot of connection with Uranus and Jupiter being related to the nervous system, especially in Taurus. And so this is a great time to just think ahead about what are those tools that you have in your life right now to ground down. How are you focusing on your routine, on your sleep, on your health, on what you're eating? In fact, focusing on the food you are putting in your body may be a real important note for a lot of people. Taurus is kind of comically associated with food, but it also does have a lot to do with what we are putting into our bodies. So some people may have some kind of a radical shift, a change in observation that may come with Uranus and Jupiter meeting in Taurus in April. Other people may see that something that's been shifting already in your life since likely 2023 and even since 2022, you may notice that something is starting to become more solidified in your life. In 2022, we had a Mars-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, and that was also really significant because it opened up some of this energy of focusing on the nervous system. And so, for instance, if you've been working on regulating your body, your emotions, whatever it may be, learning more about this stuff since 2022, since last year, now's a great time to really see it in practice and perhaps observe how you've integrated these things into your life. So yes, Jupiter in Taurus, soothing vibes, earth vibes, grounded into the body, focus on meditating, focus on what you're putting into your body. Being aware of those things is going to be so helpful for going into this last half of this year. So by the time that Jupiter enters Gemini in May, that's when we're really going to kick off this air and fire emphasis. Again, at that point, we'll have Pluto in Aquarius until it moves back into Capricorn, and we'll have Jupiter in Gemini then, and then we'll also have the South Node in Libra, and all of this will be fueled by that North Node in Aries and the other fire emphasis through the retrograde cycles, the Mercury retrograde cycles that we'll have this year, and again, having that Mars retrograde in Leo at the end of the year too. So again, by May, a lot of the rest of this year is going to be really focused on that fire and air energy. And when we're tapping into that, some of the things that we can exemplify with this energy is creativity, invention, trying new things, starting new things, planting seeds for something, having more energy or motivation for something, getting like fired up about something, becoming really passionate about something in your life, and also having the opportunity to create and try and experiment. When we think about this experimentation that I really see as a theme for this year, this is a time to try things and fail. It's okay to make mistakes when you're experimenting and when you're learning. In fact, mistakes are often great ways to learn. And so there's a lot of that energy going into the latter half of this year. That said, the other side of this is that with all that energy, especially at a time where we already have so much information in the world, so much information on our phones, on social media, online, in the news, different events happening, it can be overemphasized to the point of being dysregulated, of having a lot of mental energy going on without the grounded nature that is needed to balance that. And so that's why in this last part of the year, I really invite people to get your toolkit out, to create a resource list of the things that will help you to be mentally, spiritually, and physically grounded and healthy. Because later in this year, and again, a lot of this starting in May through the summer, you might notice that there's just a lot of energy. There's a lot going on. One of the things I wanted to share about this, and this also is connected to the eclipses that we'll have, again, starting in March to April in Libra and Aries, and then the other eclipse season later this year in September to October, is with all of these shifts that we will see specifically between those eclipse seasons, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on that higher energy, that chaotic at times energy. So there might be a lot going on. So specifically between those two eclipse seasons And really emphasized in summer is when we're going to have a lot of this fire and air energy activated and just a lot of change. And during this time, I see a large theme of being aware of distractions and practicing discernment against that. Some of the things that I'm seeing as this theme in 2024, and especially emphasized at this time, is choosing your own adventure. 2024 being a year of kind of choosing your own reality in a way, and again, especially between those eclipse seasons this year. And another way to think about this is looking at how you are focusing on certain things and how that is affecting you. What you focus on becomes your focus, in other words. So if you're focusing a lot of energy on a lot of chaos and information and news perhaps, or stuff that is just really high energy but can also be dysregulating, it may be very obvious at some point that becomes your reality, and that it can be a bit more difficult to ground down. And I would really invite people to take inventory of this year, and to just be aware of the things you're doing in your daily life and how it's affecting you, and specifically how it's affecting your body. There's so much information out there. There's so much knowledge to take in, and sometimes some of that information is just a distraction, or it's just noise. And being able to be aware of when something is not serving you or serving the path that you're on or the focus that you'd like to have, this can be a time of practicing discernment against those things. Another theme that I'm seeing this year, and specific again to this energy that might be really heightened with the fire and air transits, is this idea of being in a loop or a pattern and learning to break those patterns. During the time when we have so much emphasis of the air and fire energy, there can just be a lot of noise and movement all at once. And if you don't have a routine to step away from it, to take a breath and to see something from a bigger perspective, or to zoom out and see something from afar, it can be easy to get caught in a loop. And a cycle in your life that isn't serving you may keep you feeling a bit stuck or trapped in a reality that you don't want to be in. And I share this to say that if you find yourself this year feeling like, why is my reality feeling this way? And is this my full reality? This can be a great opportunity to see how you can step out of that reality onto a new timeline, onto a new canvas of creation in your life. And at the core of this, what this will likely have to do with changing your routines, habits, and again, the information and energy that you're taking in. The idea that's been talked about with quantum jumping, quantum leaping, changing timelines, that kind of stuff. This is a year where you might really see that. You might experiment with what that means and what that feels like. And I like to say that there's always two levels to it, perhaps many layers, but the level that is the ethereal and the intangible and the spiritual understanding of it that can also be accessed oftentimes through the mind. But the other side of it is the practical, physical, tangible reality. And this is where we can find the balance of having an idea for something or activating something in the mind or in visualization in the imagination, but needing to balance it with actually making changes and taking action and having a practical landscape in your day-to-day life for working with your body. One of the biggest themes that I've seen as we are advancing into this age of more technology and also having a lot more information about the body and the mind and the connection between it all is that this is a time where our bodies are not advancing at the same rate as technology. And so it's important to know that something may jump from 0 to 100 real quick, and your body is not necessarily going to be able to do that. And that's why there is a beautiful balance again to the fast and the slow, to being able to have information, access to resources, access to ideas, access to anything you really want at your fingertips for most people and for people who are in more privileged or advanced societies still. But the other side of that is that there is a deeper historic information that is held in our bodies that needs the earth, that needs the seasons and the cycles, that needs the rest, that needs the flow, that needs the rhythm. And this side is so important. And I think that that's where this year is a great opportunity. Again, as we start the year off with Jupiter in Taurus and go into Jupiter in Gemini, this will be a great time to really find that balance, find the opportunity to ground down, to get in touch with your environment, and to not go into this world that may just be fully consumed with technology, with ideas, or with the artificial life that can be created through that. And I say all of that just again as an invitation to really take inventory of where you fall into that right now, and maybe being able to look ahead at the rest of this year whenever you're watching this, to be able to see where can you step into more of a balance between those two things. For some people, this may look like going really in the opposite direction. And again, with Pluto in Aquarius, and Aquarius having a lot to do with learning through opposition, now is a time when many people may choose radically to step in a different direction, may choose radically to go in another way. And this is important because sometimes when we're navigating nuance, things that are new, things that aren't yet fully understood, again, it's important to see things from both sides so that we can understand what's in between. And sometimes to really solidify a habit, there needs to be a full step in the other direction before there's a balance that can be achieved. As an example of this, let's say that you have a goal to not use social media as much, or to not take in as much news or information. So starting that goal off, it may be a bit hard to find the balance if your body and your mind is used to going online so regularly already. So a good idea could be deleting certain apps on your phone and taking a real 30-day break from something and just seeing how that feels and how it affects your life. And then perhaps you can find a better balance of incorporating that into your life. That doesn't have to mean full black and white thinking or abstinence, but that having that initial abstinence or the contrary action to something can be really helpful for seeing what the balance looks like and also knowing how these things are affecting you. And to expand on that idea of patterns and the opportunity to break a pattern and to be aware of when you might be stuck in a loop and that your reality can change, that you can change your reality. Just to emphasize again that this is a great time to see how everyone's living their own different reality, and each individual reality affects the whole reality. At least that's what I've come to observe in my own experience. And so whatever you're doing on an individual basis, it may be very different than what someone else is doing, but both of those realities are affecting the collective. And so it's a great time to step into our own autonomy and to say, well, I can't change this collective, but I can change myself. I can change what I do. I can change how I show up. And to know that that may impact a larger whole is a part, I think, of the reward of working on ourselves or working toward a better self and hopefully creating a bit of a better world. And one of the things I also saw with this theme of patterns and breaking patterns is that we are in a numerology year of the 8. And so 8 in numerology signifies a lot of different things. In some cultures, it's seen as very lucky. And I like to just look at 8 being associated with that infinity loop. And 8 also has associations with Saturn. And so with both of those things, we can see that it can be connected again to cycles and also to karma. And karma is a cycle. It's a cycle that's created until it's broken. And so this is a great year. If you want to break a cycle, you might also break some karma. Okay, so those are all of the themes that I wanted to share with you all for this year. I hope that some of this has been really insightful or helpful just to navigate this year and to be aware. I think the greatest tool that you can walk into with 2024 is awareness and observation. Again, there's a lot of movement that is going to be coming this year, a lot of action and activity, and sometimes this is going to be a great engine, but the engine needs to rest. The battery needs to be recharged. And that's where this is also an important year to balance that with mindfulness, with taking care of the body, and with stepping back and seeing the larger picture. Overall, I see this being a year of invention and creation, and really just emphasizing that it is a new time. And so there will be nuance to doing things that we haven't experienced before, trying things and being willing to fail or make mistakes, and seeing that a lot of things are more temporary than we realize. And that in many ways we have more autonomy than we may realize as well, even if that autonomy is just connected to what we are focusing on and where we're putting our attention. But if you've wanted a year to really try something, put something out there, step into a new path or step into a way of being that you feel called to, this is a year to really take a chance on that, because there's a lot of seeds that will be being planted this year. So why not get in the garden and plant your own seeds and see how that might manifest in the years to come. And to close out the themes and energy for 2024, I want to leave you all with a bit of a metaphor and a story that can be great for seeing the symbolism in 2024 and learning to navigate that. So the story is that there were 2 babies, twins, in the womb of their mother, and they were communicating with one another. And one of the twins asked the other, "Do you think that there's a world beyond this one?" And the other twins said, of course not. How could you think that there was a world beyond this one? This is where we're safe. This is where we have nourishment. Nothing exists beyond here. After this is death. And the other twins said, I think that there's some life beyond this world. And the symbolism of that story is, of course, when you have the bigger perspective, we know that the birth canal is what brings life out, that in the womb is a journey to being born, and that life begins when you enter the world. But I like this story because it shows how sometimes we can have the perspective that this world that we know is all we know, and that we don't believe that there's anything beyond it because we haven't yet seen it. But from the bigger perspective, that world was always going to be temporary, and it was always going to be a journey to a new life. And I really love this as a way to look at 2024, because right now we might be in a state of the world or a world at large where it can just feel like things are unknown, uncertain, and there can be a lot of fear. But that's why this is a great time to embrace that perhaps there's a larger picture, a larger perspective to seeing how this is simply a transition into a new life, into a new world. And choosing to be optimistic about that, choosing to believe that there's life beyond this current life can be really helpful for navigating this year. So I'll leave you all with that, and I hope you have a great 2024. Thank you so much for watching this part of the video. And as a reminder, I currently have 2024 readings available, so if you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so on my website. I also do group and live events, so if you are in the Los Angeles area or if you'd like to have a virtual group reading, those are also available, and you can contact me on my website to book one. Now we're going to dive into the horoscopes for each zodiac sign. Okay, so these are the individual horoscopes for each zodiac sign, starting with Aries, ending with Pisces as it goes. And as always, I recommend watching for your big three, your sun, moon, and rising. Your rising sign will be most specific to your actual natal chart, and it does require a exact birth time if you're going to watch for your rising. And sometimes it's great to just watch for whatever sign you feel called to as well, as you may have another placement in your chart that is very significant for you this year. So starting with Aries. Aries, welcome to 2024. So as you may have already heard, this is a pretty big year for you. Now, you've probably been hearing that for a while because Jupiter was previously in your sign and the North Node is now in your sign. And the North Node does not come around every year. It takes quite a while actually to get back to the sign that it was in. And so this is a really important time of your life to look at where you're being directed to. And I'm going to talk about this significance, but overall, the North Node being in your sign through 2024 and starting in the middle of 2023, this is a time of really following your path, following your North Star, and allowing yourself to be seen. That said, you also have Chiron still in your sign, and Chiron has been hanging out there for a while. So a lot of you might already feel pretty familiar with this energy, but this combination of the North Node and Chiron in your sign, this can lead to really learning how to overcome the fear of being seen and any insecurities that you may have around that. The North Node is leading you in a direction toward your biggest and brightest self, and the path that you are ultimately led to or can go on to at this time of your life. And Chiron is known as the wounded healer, and it represents the wounds that we have, the wounds that we carry. Some of them may be even ancestral or come from long generations, and others may be from specific experiences you've had in your life, and you can even look at that as past lives as well. So Chiron carries a lot of information in it. That said, again, because Chiron's been in your sign for a while, a lot of you may feel familiar with Chiron now, but it's important to notice how it's showing up with this specific experience of the North Node. The North Node can also bring things to the surface or make things more obvious. And so with Chiron in there, it can make your insecurities a bit more obvious at this time. One of the main things I'm seeing with this is that the title of this year for you is overcoming the fear of being seen. And if you already feel like you've overcome a lot of that, then it's just being seen. And this is a great opportunity to really step into what that means in your life. This isn't a time to be afraid of following a path or of showing yourself and being your authentic self, but rather a time to step into a more courageous version of yourself, perhaps in the way that you express who you are. Furthermore, there's also going to be a Mercury retrograde in your sign in April, and so that may be a unique time for some of you. You may see that that specifically affects some of your plans or some of the things that you have going on in your life. Now, Mercury retrogrades are just times of reviewing and reflecting and redoing something. So this is a great time to experiment and to try things out. This could be a time where you actually take a step in one direction and maybe reassess and end up going in another direction. So knowing that in advance can be really helpful if you're at that time and thinking, oh, I want to go down this path, but it's not really working. It's not really fitting. And maybe you find something at that time, an opportunity that arises that points you in a different direction. And that will be important to just be aware of during that time, again, specifically in April. And this will also be important because from March to April is when we will have that first eclipse season of this year in your sign. And that eclipse season will be from March 25th until April 8th. And on April 8th, you will have a total solar eclipse in Aries. So again, this is going to really bring out the things that you are meant to see or the paths that you're meant to follow. If you've been waiting for an opportunity to take a chance on something, this will be a good time to do that. And a lot of this stuff deals with that idea of destiny as well, which means that taking a step in yourself is a great start, but you may not have to work too hard at that during this time because there might be some things that just happen organically or naturally, but that doesn't take away from the courage that you might need to try something, to put yourself out there, or to say yes to a nudge, an intuition, or an opportunity. Now that eclipse season from March to April is also going to really exaggerate the other side of this, which is the South Node in Libra. So with the North Node in your sign, your house of identity, it's really pointing you in the direction of your real self, your true self, or showing you how you're showing up. And the South Node being in Libra is falling into the opposite side of your relationship sector, meaning that this is going to have a lot to do with relationship changes in your life. So for a lot of you with the South Node moving through Libra, this may be a time where you have a lot of relationship changes. This can be a time where something ends or something begins, but at the core of it is going to point back to that North Node in your sign. So for instance, if you have a friendship or a relationship or a partnership, something that you are pursuing in your life that is not allowing you to express yourself in your full authenticity, or rather if you feel that the authentic relationships in your life are not yet there, that the relationships that are currently in your life maybe aren't really what you're looking for. And this can be one friendship, this can be a lot of friendships, this can be a romantic relationship, or this can be a family dynamic. Take it as it applies. But this is a time where you will be changing, you will be shifting, and so your relationships are going to change too. And that's where the relationship emphasis may be a bit more obvious. It may be a bit more obvious to see that it's time to end something or evolve something. It's really just an opportunity for you to step into your relationships in a more aligned way, as more of an authentic version of yourself. But this is where we deal again with that Chiron emphasis of overcoming insecurities, overcoming the fears that you may have of being honest with someone, or of being seen by someone, or of moving on from someone. If you find yourself really trying to attach to something or someone, it can even be a job or a location, this eclipse season starting in March and April, and then again bringing us into the end of the year in September, October, this is going to be an important time of noticing how things are going to change inevitably, and the ways in which you work with those changes might help you to see it from a perspective that is helping you rather than hurting you. There might be things that happen that are unexplainable, but also things that you know have been coming or that have been under the surface that you've been leading up to. Especially thinking back to the eclipse season that we had in 2023 in October, there could have been something that happened around that time, or you may have noticed that there was kind of a shift that happened. And this eclipse season from March to April may bring that in a full circle. It may close out a cycle. And again, just to reiterate, this is such a beautiful time of stepping into authenticity. This can be a time where you really just feel that you're able to be more of yourself. You're able to show more of yourself. And with that, it might just reflect that some relationships in the past, if you weren't being your authentic self, if you weren't being honest, if there was something that felt like it was limiting you in some area, this is a time where those are going to change and evolve. And if they don't, it may naturally fall away. The South Node is always an invitation to release, and the North Node is an invitation to go in that direction. And that said, with eclipses and with the nodes in the signs, sometimes things can really feel that they become extreme. And that's where there's an opportunity to achieve a balance of going about some of the situations in your life. Sometimes it might feel like there's nothing else to do but make an extreme decision, and in some cases that may be what's needed. But at other times, because we have that South Node in Libra, balance may feel fleeting. It may feel like it's not necessary, but it can be a really great equilibrium between this Aries energy. So knowing when to step back and knowing when to step forward is going to be an important navigation system for 2024 for you all Aries. That said, further emphasizing the changes in friendships and communities, Pluto will be in your 11th house, which is very commonly associated with friendships and communities. And so you might notice that there is just a natural change that is happening in your life, and it is time to embrace that and to go in a bold new direction. So if you're feeling that call, now is the time to do it. At the same time, we have Saturn in your 12th house, and the 12th house is more of a slow-moving place. Saturn being in Pisces is really bringing that water emphasis, the subconscious being very activated there. And so this is also a reminder that the things that are ending also need to be processed. And that may mean finding closure in some way, grieving things fully. If you find yourself just wanting to turn the page and not give grace to the ending that's occurring, you might find that there's some emotions that need to be processed still, whether it's now or later on. But overall, this is a time where there's going to be some inevitable changes in your life this year, and this is also an opportunity for you to step onto a path that is really aligned and to be your best self, which really means be your most authentic self. And that likely means overcoming fears of being seen, healing some wounds around identity or the way that others see you, and learning how to love yourself along the way. So I'm sending you all a lot of love, Aries. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Hello, Taurus, and welcome to 2024. So this year you will have Jupiter leaving your sign and moving into Gemini. But before it does that, it's going to meet Uranus in your sign, which is going to bring some things to the surface and perhaps give you an opportunity to realize something, to make a change, or to complete a cycle. Jupiter has been in your sign since 2023, and some of you may remember that you had a North Node in Jupiter conjunction, which was very lucky perhaps for a lot of people back in 2023. So as Jupiter is starting off this year in your sign and then moving into Gemini in May, this first part of the year, these first few months, is going to be a great opportunity to look at what has transpired and shifted and changed in your life since 2023. Now's a really good time to reflect and to observe. For you Taurus suns out there too, with your birthday being in May or in April, there's going to be an opportunity as well prior to that in this first part of the year to really use this time to go slow and to take your time when you're processing things, when you're analyzing things, when you're feeling things. This last part of the year is going to be so busy. And so Taurus placements, this is going to be a time to really be invigorated with this Jupiter in Taurus while it's still there, to really soak it in while you can, because later this year there might be a lot more energy going on. You might even have a lot more activity in your life. And so really allowing things to be slow when they are slow is a great way to navigate this year. And what I mean by that is that some of you may notice that things are a bit more slow, or that maybe you're wanting things to be a bit more slow. And if you find that you're actually wanting to speed things up when it's more slow, this is a sign to allow yourself to follow that natural rhythm rather than trying to force anything. There's a time for being awake and there's a time for being asleep. There's a time for winter and there's a time for summer. So it's important to have that ebb and flow and that natural cycle. And a lot of you may be really focused on what that looks like in your life, getting in touch with natural cycles, getting in touch with your routine, changing your routine, adapting your routine to fit a new environment or to fit a different relationship or a different version of a relationship that you're in. You might be thinking about things long term and making plans for the future. And while you're in this planning phase, there might be an extra call to rest and reflect and digest and listen not only to what your mind wants, but also to what your body feels. This is a really great time to get in touch with your body. This is going to be especially important for you Taurus placements, to lean into that natural rhythm of life, to lean into the nudge to go slow or to slow down or to take less on. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, or if you find yourself not being able to sense what you're feeling and to get into your body, this is a really important message to be able to prioritize that body regulation and feeling what's going on. There's a lot of thinking and energy that can be available this year with all of the air emphasis and the fire emphasis. And so as a Taurus placement, this is going to be a great year to embody that balance and ground into who you are and where you are and what you feel in the moment. And again, this will be very emphasized as we go into eclipse season in April, in March to April, but also as Jupiter meets Uranus exactly at the end of April. Furthermore, once Jupiter enters Gemini, it will be in your second house, or the second house to Taurus. So this is when you might have more of a focus on ownership, the things that you're pursuing, and the decisions that you're making. Some of you may have a large emphasis on income, on money, and on shared finances this year. What I see for a lot of you Taurus placements is that this is going to be a time of making decisions. And some of these decisions may be really big decisions, like a career path, committing to a relationship in a deeper way, purchasing a home, starting a family, or anything that falls in between there. There's a lot of emphasis on that this year, of navigating some big decisions. And that's why it's such a great approach, in my opinion, to be able to step back and rest and relax into some of these decisions, because if you're rushing into it, you may realize that all of a sudden you're in a commitment or you're in a decision that is long lasting. And so if you're in a specific time of your life right now where there's still some options ahead of you, this is a great time to just feel into it, to feel into the guidance that is calling you forward. This might be a time where a lot of you are getting closer to a spiritual practice in your life, are embodying a different way of perceiving something, are taking in new information, new knowledge, learning new things, talking to different people. This is a really great time to just be aware and observant prior to pulling the trigger on anything, prior to jumping into anything, because those decisions will come, those opportunities will follow, but knowing that you have time to really sit with it, or that there might be an emphasis on needing to sit with it, this especially will be important in this first part of the year. And for a lot of you, a theme this year as well is career changes. And that may be what has a ripple effect in the rest of your life, in finances, relationships, your home space, and family as well. Pluto will be entering your 10th house of career, and it did have a little dance here last year as well. So a lot of you may have been preparing for a career transition, or may have been seeing the landscape of changing a job or moving or something along those lines. And at the same time, Saturn is also in your 11th house, which signifies more authority or responsibility in something that you've already worked for. And so some of you may also be advancing in a current position where you're at, getting some kind of a promotion, and it's likely going to come with more authority and responsibility. You may be advancing in your knowledge. Some of you may be graduating or perhaps pursuing some kind of an education that allows you to have more of a knowledge base, but also more information and authority or autonomy in something that you're doing. A lot of you might be just taking on a position where you're responsible for more things. This could mean leading a team or leading something or planting the seeds for something in an organization. And this is where you might also find that there's a great opportunity to really become passionate about the work that you're doing and focusing on how it's impacting other people or the company you're with, or impacting the people in your life as well. And this is where there's an opportunity to really, again, reflect on this. Some of you may see that your career path is going in a way that you don't really know if that's what you want it to look like, specifically looking at your personal life as well. So for instance, let's say that you have an opportunity to take on a job that has more responsibility, but it's going to require less time with your family. This is an important decision because you might be at a time of your life where taking that position is important for your career growth, but at the same time, prioritizing your family is important for your soul. And so finding a balance in all of that, that's going to be important, and you might be able to step back and reflect and rest and meditate and observe in order to find that divine answer within you. As Pluto will move back into Capricorn for a brief stint later this year, that's going to highlight your 9th house again. And so some of you may also again be at the end of an education cycle. You might be completing a degree, and this may be a year when you are having to really get to the finish line. And that again is why it's a great time to soak it in and to enjoy the time that you're in, because now is the now, and this time will never be repeated in your life. And so whether you are closing out a chapter in work, in school, in just an internal time of your life as well, the 9th house being associated with spiritual understandings and learnings, mentorship. This can also be a time where you're just moving into a new way of perceiving things or feeling things or getting more in touch with who you really are and what you really want. And so this is a beautiful time to just embrace this chapter, because it's likely that this chapter is going to have a pretty clear end and a new beginning going into 2025, and really as soon as this year as well. So now is a great time to observe it all, take it all in. And again, Taurus placements this year, if you feel called to go slow, to step back, listen to that intuition, because your body might be telling you really important information, and it will be worth paying attention to. Thank you, Taurus, for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Gemini placements, welcome to 2024. So as I'm sure you've heard by now, if you watched the earlier part of my video or if you've heard elsewhere, Jupiter will be in your sign this year. And this is important because Jupiter has not been here since 2012, and prior to that since 2000. When Jupiter is in your sign, it's emphasizing the aspects and traits of Gemini, of the archetype and the association of Gemini, and more importantly, of who you are. Whether this is your sun, your moon, or your rising, it's going to emphasize and at times exaggerate those qualities. And what this can mean is it's a great opportunity to come into a fuller version of who you are, and to really get back in touch with parts of yourself that perhaps have felt a bit fragmented or lost over the years. Jupiter also is going to bring opportunities, especially if a lot of you have been waiting to kind of have a nudge towards something in your life, or just feel that you've been working towards something and you haven't had a lot of opportunity to show for that, or you haven't felt that there's been a reciprocation of what you've put out there. This can be a year where you really start to feel some fulfillment of the things that you've put out there or the things that you've pursued. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a really big thing, a big event. Some of you may have that, but it can just be that you feel complete or satisfied with the things that you are pursuing, or with something that you've even done or completed in the past. That said, with it emphasizing your first house, especially for the risings out there, it's really going to allow you to step into a new identity or a new version of yourself. And thinking about all of the energy of this year and how it's affecting Gemini, again, we have so much air and fire energy this year, so there's going to be a fluidity in working with this energy this year because it's natal to you. So that Gemini emphasis is going to allow you to just be more of yourself in many ways and perhaps explore new parts of yourself. And with that said, with Pluto being in Aquarius, with the South Node being in Libra, and with there also being so much of the fire emphasis as well with the transits and some of the retrogrades this year, a lot of those are going to aspect your sign in more positive ways with trines and sextiles. And what this means is it's going to kind of lend a hand to try something new. This is a year for Gemini placements to put yourself out there and invent something, create something, throw something at a wall and see if it sticks. You can use tactic and strategy as well to work towards something that you're pursuing, but this is a time of experimenting and not being afraid to make mistakes. I talked in the themes for 2024 about how this is a year of experimenting, and this is really true for Gemini placements. If you've wanted to try a different style in your life, to try something out just for fun or even in a more serious or professional manner, this is a great time to just do it and see what happens. And that doesn't mean to do things carelessly, of course, but more so to realize that it's okay to make mistakes. And in fact, in the creative process, there are going to be a lot of mistakes, and they're only mistakes if you judge them that way. So this is a great time to just experiment and explore. If you've wanted to write music, write a song. If you've wanted to paint, paint a picture. If you've wanted to speak in front of people, get on a stage. Now is a time to just try it, and not because there has to be some big achievement or goal, but rather because it's something that you feel tickled to do. It's something that you feel that you want to try out just for fun. A lot of you may even find that a hobby or something that you're doing for fun turns into something that could actually be more integrated into your daily life. But the emphasis on this is doing things because you feel called to, because you feel passionate about it, because you feel led to. And the journey of that may just be activating that energy inside of you, just doing something that you're passionate about for the experience of feeling passion, doing something that brings you joy for the experience of getting joy, not because there has to be some end goal to it, but because the journey itself allows you to step into more of yourself, to explore more realms of who you are, and to tap into some emotions that might be really expansive and open parts of your life, or even open up different kinds of relationships in your life that allow you to just explore and learn and try things. And so just to summarize all that, this is a year of trying things out, seeing what sticks, and knowing that it is okay to make mistakes. And if you can learn to have fun with it, it's probably going to be a lot of fun. If you felt that you've been stuck in a certain identity or in a certain way of living or way of being, or if you feel that people perceive you in a certain way, this is a great year to break that, to step away from that, to break the pattern, break the cycle. And in doing that, the answer or the solution may be to just do something radically different than the way you've done it before. This can work in various forms of your life. This can work in trying to solve something that's been present in your life, like the saying that doing something continuously and expecting different results is insanity. This is a year to do something totally different, and you will likely get very different results. So if you've wanted to have some of that opportunity to try things, Jupiter will likely bring those opportunities around, and the only thing you may need to do is step into it and say yes. And for others, or at other times, this may be a time where you really have to put yourself out there and take a chance, but there's going to be a lot of internal reward for doing that. Again, even if it's just that you say you want to do something and you do it, that can feel very fulfilling and very rewarding. And this is further emphasized with Pluto entering your 9th house of education, learning, spiritual development, understanding. There can be a whole new world that opens to you this year simply in the way that you're feeling and showing up. And by making subtle changes to your life, or at times big changes, you may unlock different paths of your life that you didn't know were there. That said, looking holistically at this, we can't forget about Saturn in Pisces. And what I mean by that is that because Saturn is in Pisces, it is square to Gemini, and a lot of you may also feel that square at times this year. And what that means is that there's going to be a balance of experimenting and trying things and also knowing and finding your limits. So for instance, you might try something a couple times and then realize that by the fourth time, it's not worth doing it anymore. And there are limits that may come or restrictions that you may feel with Saturn as well. So Saturn is in your 10th house to Gemini. So for a lot of you, this will be specific to career. For instance, you may find that the job that you're in, you feel a lot of restriction or you feel a lot of responsibility. You feel perhaps that there's a lot of stress that is put on you or that you're feeling. And this is where there can be a beautiful balance achieved this year of, let's say that you're working a job where there is a lot of stress, or maybe you don't feel that you fully can express yourself. But when you are not at work, you're finding new ways of expressing yourself, new ways of trying things. And this can help you to alleviate some of the pressure that you might feel in this area of your life. So there's an opportunity to find that balance, but knowing your limits will be important when it comes to Saturn, but that shouldn't stop you from trying new things this year and putting yourself out there. So thank you, Gemini, for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Cancer placements, welcome to 2024. So this year is going to be a breath of fresh air for a lot of you in the sense of slowing down a bit or of changing the rhythm that you've been in. Now, some of you may have had a bit of that break or that reprieve in the last year as well, but this year is going to really emphasize the need to slow down and to focus on things that allow you to feel regulated, allow you to feel balanced, and really allow you to process your emotions. And I'm not talking about emotions just because it's Cancer, but because the transits this year are going to really emphasize parts of your chart or in relationship to Cancer, parts that really require a slower process and observation. Pluto is going to be moving into the 8th house to Cancer, and this is going to emphasize things in your life that might be connected to grief or loss, shared finances, debt, inheritance, all those things, a lot of stuff in the 8th house always. But it also is connected to intimacy, sex, slowing down, being in the body, and really allowing for a deeper spiritual experience in your felt sense. This is a time when you might really emphasize the need to get into your body and to do things that help you to feel healthy. And at the same time, that 8th house can be an area that is a bit hard to see. And so you might find that some information comes to you this year in unexpected ways. Whether you have a conversation with someone and there's information that comes through that really helps you, but it was unexpected based off of who you were talking to or just the way that you thought the conversation would go. Another example is that you might be trying to grab information directly, but it may come to you indirectly or subconsciously through signs or symbols or coming across something at the right time or just through your feelings. And that is also because Jupiter will be entering the 12th house to Cancer, which is a very subconscious place. It is not direct. It's not going to write something in an obvious way. It's not going to give you a direct, clear forward message. If you're asking a question to someone or to the universe, instead of giving you a direct answer, it might give you a metaphor or a rhyme, and it might ask you to unlock what that means in a deeper way. And so this isn't really a time where you might see or understand things that are going on ahead of you. There might be some mystery in your life, but this is a time where in trying to decode or understand that mystery, you may tap into a deeper spiritual practice. And especially as Pluto is entering the 8th house and setting up to be there for a long time for your Cancer placements for the next 19 years, this is a time that it's really going to emphasize the spirituality in your life. If you're trying to do anything that's running in an opposite direction of being more in touch with your soul or of doing something that is more spiritual or even in the realm of healing, it's likely that you'll be redirected back to those things. And sometimes the way that that redirection happens is through our lived experiences. So for instance, there may be some challenges that come up this year that on the surface may not make much sense, or they may seem very frustrating or unnecessary. But in that challenge, there might be immense spiritual information that can only be learned by going through it. And this is a great thing to remember this year for you Cancer placements, because if something provokes emotion in you, there can easily be a thought that may come saying, why is this happening? Or I don't deserve this, or whatever may follow. But if you are able to see that there's going to be some nuanced ways of learning and experiencing things on a spiritual level, then this is an opportunity to see that anything that triggers you or activates you or challenges you or opposes you this year is here to help you initiate things within you. It's here to help you learn and develop things. And again, for a lot of you, this is going to have to do with processing emotions. Because that 8th house deals a lot with grief, a lot of you may have an emphasis on processing grief, navigating grief, and again, really feeling it in the body. Not just talking about it, not just thinking about it, but feeling it. That said, looking at the other emphasis for Cancer this year, the North Node is in the 10th house to Cancer and the South Node is in the 4th house. And these are in fellow cardinal signs, which means that those North Node and South Node eclipses are going to be squaring Cancer. And so what this means is that a lot of you may experience, again, some challenges this year that create pause in your life or give you the opportunity to reflect on something. And because this is dealing with two pivotal areas, the 10th house of career and direction and the 4th house of home and family, especially for Cancer risings, this may make you question or put a bit of pressure on you around these two areas of your life. So a lot of you may be asking questions in your life relating to your career path, in addition to your home and your family life. This is a time that is really inviting you to ask those questions and to think big picture or longer term about the path that you are on. Some of you may be making a radical shift in your life or stepping in a different direction as it relates to your home life and as it connects to your career. You may find this year that those two things are so connected and it's hard to separate them. And that may be because of a specific job that you're in or a specific work a field that you're in. And it may also be because you are noticing how much time you are spending doing X, Y, or Z in your daily life, and how you want to shift some of that time to be focused on things that are more connected to your home and your family, or to a routine, or to a healing journey that you're on. And when we think about this emphasis of the Aries and the Libra and Cancer being at that T-square with it, this is asking us to integrate all these different energies. And so Aries is going to be about motivation and going after something in your life and pursuing something that you feel called to do. And the North Node being at the top of your chart is going to really give you the opportunities to do that, even if it's through adversity. And the South Node in Libra is asking to find balance or to recalibrate something so that there's more balance. But at times, because it's the South Node, it may feel that there's not a lot of balance this year. But all this is pointing back to your sign in Cancer, to be able to take things with a gentle approach and feel your way through something when you need to. All of this is pointing to an opportunity to really recalibrate your life in a way that feels more meaningful to you. And this may be because you are healing things in your life that are shifting your ambitions, and that journey is a really important journey to be on. So it doesn't need to be rushed, but rather it is an opportunity to see how, if challenges are coming up or if things are happening in your life that are causing you to look at the things that need to be healed, that this is going to help you long term, because it's going to show you the direction to go in from a healed version of yourself rather than from a wounded version. And lastly, Saturn is in Pisces still this year, so it's going to be in your 9th house, and it's also aspecting Cancer in a positive way, being that those are both water signs. So Saturn is your friend this year in a lot of ways, meaning that taking in knowledge, reading books, learning new things, you might even be in school or going back to school or taking a course in something, having mentorship, having people who are guiding you through things, having a resource network of people who can help you, even if it's just through a conversation to reflect something back to you. This is going to be a valuable tool to have with you this year. And knowing that some things we are really not meant to do on our own, And if you put yourself out there this year to ask for support, to ask for help in something, you will likely receive it in abundance. Saturn is a great teacher, and so when we work with Saturn, it can help us to be a great student. But if we're trying to bypass a lesson, that's where there might be something that circulates back in our life until we really sit down to learn what it is trying to teach us. So that is my message for you, Cancer placements in 2024. Overall, this is a time to really be aware of the messages and the lessons in your life, and don't be afraid to get in touch with your emotions, with your body, and to slow down when you need to, because it's likely that you are being redirected in a really important way in your life, and it might mean that you do have to reorganize or recalibrate something that you are currently pursuing, and that's okay. So thank you, Cancer, for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Leo placements, welcome to 2024. There's quite a lot of action going on in your sign this year, not only because of the aspects that you will experience with the events going on in the air signs and also in Aries and Libra with the eclipses, but actual events that will also happen in your sign, such as the Mercury retrograde that we will have between your sign and also in Virgo in August. And then you'll also have a Mars retrograde at the end of this year that will start in your sign, and it will go back into Cancer in early 2025, and then eventually will go direct. So a lot to say for you all Leo placements, but the biggest message I have for this year is that when you have a lot of retrogrades in your sign, this is your permission slip to try things out and to redo things. If there's something in your life that isn't working, this is the time to go in a different direction or to make a change that's necessary. If you're trying to force something and it's not sticking, now is a time to look at the map and to step back and get a bigger perspective on the things that you want to pursue. At the same time, overthinking isn't going to be the best solution this year, but taking action in the direction of the things that you're interested in can be a really great teacher. And what I mean by that is that giving yourself permission to make mistakes may look like trying something and realizing that it's not going to work, or doing something and realizing that it's not for you. And at the same time, part of this reflection, especially during the retrograde cycles for you, can also be taking a step back and looking at what you've done in the past and seeing where you're at in this cycle of your life. There might be something that you've pursued for a set period of time that is ready to evolve or end, and giving yourself permission to try something new or to start something in a new way is going to be helpful for navigating 2024. And this is further emphasized with Pluto entering your 7th house. This is taking on a different role in your life, which is going to have a lot to do with relationships. Now, Pluto was in Aquarius briefly in 2023, so you may have already had an idea of how this is showing up in your life, but for a lot of you, it's going to be much more evident this year. And this is having to do fully with relationships, not only romantic relationships, but any relationship in your life, you and the other, the idea of the separation between those two things. In fact, you may even notice that there isn't actually much separation between you and other people other than the illusion of separation. And that concept itself may be something that is worthy of sitting on or reflecting on this year. And a way that that can show up, for instance, is that if you find yourself judging other people or judging a path that someone else is on, it may be a great opportunity to look in the mirror and see how you're pointing the finger back at yourself, to see how other people are serving as a great reflection for you. And if you're open to that and if you're looking for that in the world, you're likely going to see that other people become great teachers for you this year. The nature of Pluto is that it is about transformation and change, and sometimes it has to shift something from the root and from the foundation. And so because it's coming out of your 6th house to Leo and moving into your 7th house, and it will be opposing Leo for the next 19 years, this is going to be a time where things will be changing and transforming. And because it will be in that opposition to your sign, a lot of this is going to point back to how you are changing and evolving as a person. If you've been holding on to a set way of showing up, perhaps a persona or an identity or a mask that you've had to wear in your life to survive certain times of your life or to navigate other times of your life, this is a time where that mask may be falling away and the real you is coming out. But this is a journey that may feel more internal than anything, meaning taking time to get to know yourself is going to be a really important invitation to follow this year. And some of that may show up in how other people are reacting or reflecting back to you. If you notice that you're hearing the same thing multiple times, or if you're having the same thing come up in different relationships, let's say that you're pursuing a romantic relationship and you have the same pattern showing up again and again and again, this is a great time to really look at what's underneath it. Look at what is shifting under the surface of those experiences, because there's something in there that is trying to communicate to you. And the power of this is that Pluto offers that opportunity to change. So if there's something in your life that you haven't wanted to look at because you've been afraid that you can't change it, Leo and Aquarius are both fixed signs, and especially with Pluto entering Aquarius, there can be this shift in the way that you've seen something. A fixed sign usually wants to see things the same way, or it gets used to the same idea of something or the same worldview. But with Pluto coming in there, it is shaking all of that up. So if there's been a set way of viewing something, whether that's seeing yourself, seeing others, maybe it's what you're looking for in a relationship, this is going to open a new era of viewing things differently. And if you can take the bait and allow that change to happen, this year might be really synchronistic for you. It may show you the directions of things and kind of allowing things to come in as they are, rather than trying to change or control something, especially as it relates to things that have already happened. Meaning that the transits this year can also be really helpful for accepting the past and truly moving on from it. And if there's something you've been trying to move on to, but you haven't had much success with actually releasing it and closing the door, those things may show up in your life this year, may repurpose themselves in your life this year to give you an opportunity to see something differently or to do something differently. Sometimes that's the purpose of retrogrades, is that it's bringing you back through a familiar cycle in your life so that you can see it differently and operate in a different way. And so a lot of you Leo placements may see that this year is a time that it's pointing you to things in your life that need to be addressed, but that also are giving you opportunities to truly change. So again, if you've had a mindset about anything in your life, whether it's something very obvious or it's something that's much more subtle or subconscious, if you've had the mindset that this thing can't change, I can't change, this thing's always going to be the same, well, guess what? This year is a great time to rewrite that narrative and literally change those things in your life, and the planets are here to help you with that. So Leo, my overall message for you is that this is a year of allowing yourself to change, make mistakes, try different things out, and a lot of that's going to have to do with your ability and willingness and acceptance of letting the past go. But don't worry, because with Pluto in Aquarius, that won't be too difficult to do, especially by the time that it fully enters Aquarius in 2025. So thank you, Leo, for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Virgos, welcome to 2024. This year has a lot going on, and as I'm sure you've heard if you listen to the themes and the transits, there's a lot of the air and fire emphasis, which doesn't place as much attention on Virgo, but you do have a transit in your sign this year, which is a Mercury retrograde. And of course, there will be planets moving through your sign as well, but that Mercury retrograde will be important, and that's going to be in August, and that will go on between Leo and Virgo. So that Mercury retrograde may draw attention to something specific in your life, and it may also offer you the opportunity to try something differently or to update, upgrade, or shift something. Now, the overall themes that I'm seeing for Virgo is that this year has a lot to do with balancing the serious things in life and also giving yourself permission to evolve and to adapt to something that you haven't done before. There's a lot of emphasis going on in your 7th house, and then also later into May to the rest of this year in your 10th house. So Saturn being in your 7th house still through this year and also into 2025. Saturn is a planet that likes things to be stable and consistent and likes there to be a solid foundation, and it can also have to do with responsibility and authority. So this is showing up in an area of your life that deals with relationships and commitments. What this can look like is a marriage for some of you, a commitment for some of you, really becoming closer with someone that you're with. And this can also show a shift in your relationship that is showing more of the day-to-day, more serious things that come up in relationships. Sometimes it's the stuff that's not as glamorous. It's the hard conversations that you have to have. It's the challenges that you might face as a couple. Those are the things that you might be facing this year. It's making decisions together as well. In fact, I really will emphasize that this will be a year of teamwork and collaboration and learning to make decisions with other people. Because Saturn is also putting an opposition on your sign, this may mean that sometimes you might feel a bit under pressure. You might feel under pressure to conform to something, or to be something differently, or to agree with something, or just not having as much freedom as you may have had in the past. This can show up specifically in relationships, but it can also play out in work situations. In that 7th house emphasis, you might also find themes around starting a new job, signing a contract to something, buying a home, anything that really deals with a commitment, especially long-term commitments. Saturn loves a long-term commitment, but it wants to make sure that you're in the right commitment and you're making the best choices within it. It doesn't want you to sign on the dotted lines without reading the fine print. And in fact, there can even be repercussions of doing that. So this is a really great opportunity to be aware of the things in your life that you're committing to, but also to realize that sometimes the big things in life that can seem really exciting in one way also require the hard work and the commitment and the things that just are not as glamorous or as shiny on the outside, and that both of those things are important, whether that's in a romantic relationship or whether that's in a new job that you're pursuing. And for a lot of you, I can imagine that you may be starting a new career, starting a new job, or expanding in your current job or on your current career path. And this has to do with Jupiter entering your 10th house when it goes into Gemini in May. So this is going to square Virgo, but it's also going to offer opportunity at that pivotal part of your chart that deals a lot with career. Now, again, this will be more specific for Virgo risings, but this is going to be true for all Virgo placements as it relates to where these planets are to Virgo. And so I say that just to emphasize that for some of you, you may really be going through a very obvious career change. And for others, it may just be a more subtle experience of seeing that you are feeling a lot of pressure of responsibility in your life, and it's asking you to take care of the things that you need to take care of, but also not to burn yourself out when you're doing that. One of the things that I highlighted for Virgo this year is that a lot of you may be overcoming imposter syndrome. With Jupiter at the top of your chart and with other things going on in more private places, personal places, such as the North Node being in your 8th house and the South Node being in your 2nd house to Virgo. This is an experience where you might feel that there's some things happening in your life that are showing you in a certain light, or that are giving you opportunities to step into a certain role. And there might be other things simultaneously happening that feel like they're on the opposite side of that spectrum. As an example, you might be excelling in your career, but you might be struggling in some parts of your financial life, or you might be experiencing something where you are taking on more debt for something or paying off debt in some ways, but something that's changing with your shared finances, with your finances in general. This can be an opportunity with the North Node being there, that you're actually excelling in something that you are doing with someone else. So let's say you're starting a business with someone, or you're merging finances with someone, or you're buying a property with someone. This can have a lot of that fine print early stage or even later on, but it also is going to show an opportunity to invest in something beyond yourself. When you have things going through that 8th house sector in this way, it's a great opportunity to work with others, and sometimes it's an inevitable situation of sharing something with someone else. So whether this is something that you're actively pursuing or something that it's more so just a circumstance of your life right now, this is really going to point back to that theme of working with others, learning how to have healthy conversations to navigate conflict. You might need to negotiate something this year, and this is going to be a good time to practice sticking up for yourself, speaking about your opinions or your ideas on something, but also equally and importantly, listening and hearing other people so that you can find the best collaborative solution. If you try to do something on your own this year, you might find that you're always going to be drawn back to working with others, and that's because this is really where the emphasis is at right now for you. And so overall, this is a time where you might be stepping into a new career, you might be trying something new in your career, and this can be a time where you might be feeling like maybe you're not worthy of it, maybe it's not the right opportunity, and that really connects with that imposter syndrome. But the good news is that with Jupiter being at the top of your chart, it's offering you an opportunity to overcome these things. So in stepping into an opportunity that you haven't done before, a new job, a new role, anything along those lines, you might find that it's also helping you to overcome feelings of insecurity or feelings of unworthiness in multiple areas of your life. So if you have an opportunity for something and you're feeling like you're not worthy of it, it's not right for you, don't let the imposter syndrome get in your way, and know that by saying yes to something, even if it's something you've never done before or you didn't expect to do, or even if it's, again, working with others in a different way, that this can really help you to find different versions of yourself in the work that you're doing, and to step into a more confident way of showing up in your work or showing up with other people in your private life as well. And lastly, at the end of this year, we have that Mars retrograde in Leo, which will be in the 12th house to Virgo. And this will give you a good opportunity to step back and to relax and to review everything. So this year might be a bit busy for you, but by the end of this year, there'll likely be an opportunity to step back and analyze everything that's gone on. And in fact, that will be recommended by that time, because if you're trying to force something beyond your limit, Saturn will likely bring things into perspective or pull you back so that you have that time to rest. Thank you, Virgo, for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Libra placements, welcome to 2024. So as you may know by now, the South Node is in your sign, which means that the eclipse seasons that we have this year are going to be very important for you. So we have the first eclipse season this year from March 25th until April 8th, and that March 25th eclipse will especially emphasize Libra with a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra. And then the second eclipse season that we have later this year will be in September to October, and there will be a solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. And so those are going to be very important times for you Libra placements, and they'll essentially open up the energy of the South Node in your sign. Now, the nodes don't come around every year, so when the South Node is in your sign, this is an important time of your life to really work with that energy. The South Node is about releasing. So when it is in your sign, it is asking you to release something in your life that is no longer working. And a lot of this is going to fall into the arena of how you see yourself and your identity and the things that you attach to make sense of who you are. A lot of this is also going to point to releasing things from the past. And when I say that, and if you're hearing this and thinking like there's a lot that's in your life that is still very hard to release, well, don't worry, because by the time that we have these eclipse cycles fully complete by the end of 2024 and going into 2025, this is going to be a natural and somewhat gradual evolution of something in your life that will allow you to release something that perhaps you've been holding on to for a while. And so if you feel like right now there's things that feel uncertain, or you might be holding on really tightly to an identity or even a relationship, this eclipse cycle and this year in full is going to give you an opportunity to naturally release anything that is no longer for you or that you've outgrown. The key with all of this, though, is going to be to allow it to happen, to allow the release to occur. Some of you may be familiar with hearing that in eclipse seasons and with these cycles. It's much less often that we're forcing something to change. It's more often that the change is happening and that we have to learn not to go against it. And so if there's something in your life that you've been waiting for a change to happen in an area of your life, this is going to be the time when it's going to take place through this year. So there's some level of opportunity and openness that is inviting you to look at how you currently identify, to look at what you identify with. A lot of this is going to have to do with your relationships as well, because the North Node is in Aries. Now, with the North Node there, it's pointing toward relationships. So a lot of you may be meeting people that are really important to you at this time. Some of you may even get into a committed relationship with someone, but it's also, again, pointing back to that South Node. So there's no getting away from looking at yourself and your identity. In fact, if you find yourself becoming over-involved with somebody else, this is going to be a reminder to find the balance of you in a relationship combined with someone else in a relationship. Releasing patterns connected to codependency and people-pleasing is going to be a big theme for you Libra placements, and a lot of you may have been working on this since 2023 or even over the last couple of years. And if you feel like you've been able to really let go of the need to please other people or to make everyone happy, this is a year where you might find that you're really stepping into a bolder version of yourself, an unapologetic version of yourself. And yes, you do not have to apologize for being yourself, Libra placements. So I love that energy for you all, and I hope that this is an opportunity for you to really embody that. Sometimes those opportunities come through challenges or come through confrontation with other people. With Aries emphasized in your 7th house, you might find that there's some arguments or contradictions that you experience in relationships that are here to help you stand up for yourself, step up for yourself, and to give you the opportunity to really place yourself in the way that you want to be, not to conform to who other people want you to be, but to say, this is who I am, and I require respect. And knowing that you deserve that respect for who you are is going to be an important ingredient to navigating this year. And furthermore, with Saturn in your 6th house, there's also an emphasis on health, on taking care of yourself. And sometimes that may just mean taking a step back to focus on yourself, focus on what you need to take care of, getting the things done that you need to do, and not spending as much time trying to do a lot of things for other people this year. Additionally, with Pluto entering Aquarius, this is in your 5th house, the 5th house to Libra. With Jupiter also entering Gemini, there's going to be a lot of synchronicity in these air signs. So there's going to be help in these areas of your life that are allowing you to grow, step into new spiritual understanding. Some of you may be learning new things with Jupiter in the 9th house. And at the same time, with Pluto in the 5th, this is an opportunity to transform something in a very deep way that can be connected to creativity, expression, to your childhood, to children in your life, or to the ideas that you might have about romance, sex, and children. One of the biggest themes that I'm seeing for this year for Libra placements is inner child healing. And if that's something that you are familiar with, that you've already worked with a lot, this can be a year where you start to see the benefits of it. If it's something that you find yourself avoiding or not being too interested in, this is a year that will ask you to really process your inner child and to get in touch with that inner child, whatever that may mean for you. And you may find that there's experiences or circumstances that pop up outside of you to help you do that. All right, Libra, well, thank you so much for watching. And overall, this year is a great time to step into who you really are and to be unapologetically yourself, and to know that as you're changing, your relationships will change as well. And it's okay to release a past version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Scorpio placements, welcome to 2024. So this year is going to have such less emphasis on Scorpio, and for a lot of you that may be a good reprieve, a good relief, and for others it may be a time where you just are seeing and feeling that shift in your life. And this is because we had the eclipses in Taurus and in Scorpio for the last couple of years, and we also had Jupiter in Taurus. And so Jupiter will be leaving your 7th house, and the nodes are now out of your sign, and we won't have any more eclipses in your sign for quite some time. And so with all of that said, this is a really great opportunity this year, especially in this first part of the year, to reflect on everything that's happened over the last year and to really see how much you've changed and to observe those shifts in your life. A lot of you have probably gone through massive changes internally and even externally. You may notice that things around you have changed too, relationships, dynamics, work environments, your home environment, and taking the time to really reflect on that and to see the rebirth that you've gone through is important. A lot of you may feel that you have a new power in your life, that you're more empowered in who you are, and that you're more confident in navigating things that used to really be a challenge, or maybe they used to just feel that they weighed on you heavier than they do now. And that's not to say that this year is going to be like fully easy or whatever. There's still going to be challenges, I'm sure, but a lot of you may just see that you're better at handling those challenges, that something is coming up, but you have better tools for navigating it. Whether that is you feel more confident in your own ability to do it, you feel better in your support system, or you feel stronger in a faith that everything's going to be okay and that it's going to work out as it should. That said, with Jupiter entering your 8th house, this further emphasizes the invitation to slow down, to go slow, and to really feel into everything that's shifted and changed. You might feel that there's some stagnation going on, that things are slow or not moving forward, but this is the opportunity to really sit with that rather than trying to change it or force it. If you feel like you're being asked to sit still, it's probably because there is an emotion, an intuition, or something that's trying to come up and through you and communicate something to you. If you spend time reflecting on something in the past, you might have some revelations or realizations that help you to see something more clearly in your present. This will also be a time that really emphasizes your home and your family, and specifically your home space. So your house, your living space, where you're living. A lot of you might be going through big changes with this, thinking about where you're living or where you want to live in the next chapter of your life. And this may be a time where you're currently at is evolving, or there's a natural ending that's happening in the foundation that you've been on. This can have to do with your family as well, with things changing in your family. Some of you may be processing grief this year, perhaps losing someone in your family, and processing the feelings and the experience of that as well. Because Pluto will be entering that 4th house to Scorpio, it's also going to be squaring Scorpio. So at times you might feel that there's some pressure on you to make decisions specific to your home and family, but knowing that Jupiter will be entering that 8th house, it's giving you an opportunity to feel into things before you fully commit or say yes or dive in. And that's not to say to neglect or resist anything, but rather to realize that some of the changes you might be called to make this year are slow moving. So you don't have to go so quickly into them, especially when Jupiter is still in Taurus. Until May, you might notice that something is being completed, a cycle is being completed. If you're planning to make some kind of a decision, you might feel that there's more clarity that comes after May, or by the end of May, when Jupiter is fully moving into Gemini. Furthermore, Saturn is in your 5th house and it's aspecting your sign. So this can be really helpful as it relates to things connected to children, creativity, and play. This is a great time to tap into your artistic expression, your inner child, and to get in touch with the things that allow you to feel free and happy, whatever that means for you. Some of you may be having a closer relationship with your children, and for others, you might find that there's a bit more restriction or something that changes in your family. So you may feel that changes in your family dynamics and how you're showing up in your family play an important role in your own development at this time. And lastly, with the North Node in your 6th house and the South Node in your 12th house, these eclipses are going to remind you to slow down and to focus on your health when you need to. You might have an emphasis on your sleep cycles, on dreaming, on things that are subconsciously coming up within you so that they can be processed. So if you have the call to slow down or to do something for your health that maybe you're not used to doing, this is a really important time to listen to that intuition, because it might show you the way forward, especially if you're dealing with something that's been an ongoing issue connected to your health or connected to your environmental well-being. You might also, for some of you, have some specific events connected to pets as well. That said, the overall message for you Scorpio placements is that this is a year of embracing the transformation that you've already gone through and allowing a new life to form in front of you, even if it means setting yourself up on a different foundation than you're on now. And as a final message for you Scorpio placements, Mars will be retrograde in Leo at the end of this year in December, closing out 2024. This is a fellow fixed sign, And this is going to create some tension between Mars in Leo, Pluto in Aquarius at the end of the year, and then between your sign as well being another fixed sign. So some of you may feel that at the end of this year, there's a bit of a pressure to make a change in an area of your life connected to home and to career. And specifically, some of you may have a career change around this time, or you may be going through some kind of a review of the current things that you are doing in your work environment, or to make income. So if you are planning some kind of a change in that, by the end of this year, that might come together, or that may be a time where you really start to consider a change in your life specific to your career. Okay, thank you Scorpio placements for watching, and I hope you have a great 2024. Sagittarius placements, welcome to 2024. This year is going to emphasize you in a unique way. We started the year off with Mercury going direct in your sign on January 1st, and we will end the year with another Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. So we're entering the year with Mercury going direct in your sign, and we're leaving the year with another retrograde in your sign. That said, we'll also have Jupiter entering Gemini this year, which will be in your 7th house of relationships. Now, when we're looking at this holistically, there's a lot of emphasis on Mercury for you Sagittarius placements this year. When we think about Mercury, there's an emphasis on communication. There's also an emphasis on the ways in which we communicate and express ourselves in relationships, and also in our own identity and towards society as a whole. So in other words, this may be a year where you're really exploring different methods of communication, everything from writing to public speaking to one-on-one connections as well. This is a time when you can really evolve and adapt new ways of communicating with people. If this is something that you've been wanting to improve or work on or learn more about, this will be a great year for doing that. And if you're adamantly or actively working toward improving your communication, the planets are going to be working with you on that. On the other hand, if you are not necessarily aware of communication being an area of focus this year, you may have some experiences and events that point toward wanting or needing to develop some healthier methods of communicating. Furthermore, this can also emphasize new knowledge coming in, new information, learning new things. Jupiter being in Gemini really highlights a lot of information coming in new ways, getting a new perspective on something. And this may be a year where you feel very passionate about that. You could be learning about something that you become very involved with, or you could just be getting inspired by the things that you're taking in, whether you're hearing someone speak, listening to an interview, having a conversation with someone, or reading a book, or anything of that nature. There's even more of an emphasis on your sign this year because of all the fire and air energy. So Sagittarius will be very activated even beyond the transits that will be in your sign or opposite to your sign. We have a Mercury retrograde also in Aries and another one in Leo. And then we have a Mars retrograde at the end of the year in Leo. So those are your fellow fire signs. So during those retrograde cycles as well, you will likely feel a lot of activation. Now, these are complementary transits in the fellow fire signs, which means that you might feel more inspired to change something, take action on something, initiate something, or create something. My advice for Sagittarius this year is to experience and experiment, or perhaps experiment through experiences. This is a time to really put yourself into new environments, allow yourself to invite nuance into the way that you're learning about other things, meeting new people, and expressing the ideas that you already have. In fact, this is a great year for exploring new ways of expressing yourself through creative means, through artistic means, and that's why this is a great year to allow yourself to get a little bit messy. Sometimes we find the message or we understand the deeper meaning to something by making a mess. Allowing yourself to make a mess, to make a mistake. This is a great year to give yourself the chance to learn through your mistakes. And it doesn't have to be a mistake until you view it as a mistake. A metaphorical example of this is, let's say that you are having an emotion come up in you this year, and in the past maybe you would handle those emotions in certain ways, or you would try and find catharsis in certain areas of your life, Well, this year you might be interested to find that relief or expression in new ways. So perhaps you take up painting and you are allowing yourself to express your emotion through a painting. Well, to make a painting, it's very likely that you will make somewhat of a mess, or you might try something and do something another time and eventually get to a point where you feel complete in what it is that you're trying to express. But it might take a few tries, it might take a few canvases, and you might have paint all over the place by the time that you fully feel expressed. And that is what this year may offer you, is the opportunity to either actually or metaphorically experiment, make a mess, and finally get to a place where you feel that you're truly expressing from a place of who you are, of your authentic self, or just learning to access those emotions within you. In fact, emotional processing may be a big theme for you this year, not just learning to regulate those emotions, but to also fully process them. If you have emotions come up that feel big or that feel uncertain, or that you are having a difficulty in identifying, this is a great year to try and sit with those emotions a bit longer or in different ways to allow their full completion to be processed. And this can happen especially in relationships, because Jupiter will be in your 7th house. It's going to give you an opportunity to expand in relationships. By May 25th, Jupiter is going to be making its way through your 7th house for the rest of this year. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity in your relationships. You might find that new people come into your life this year, new friends, acquaintances, co-workers, and you might also find that the current relationships in your life are evolving and changing in ways that allow for deeper connection or more opportunities to get to know other people and for them to get to know you. Whenever the 7th house is activated, it's a reminder that in a relationship there are two sides to it. There's the individual and then there's the reflection or the other. And this is what you might be very aware of this year, is the reflection that other people are providing for yourself. Whether it's someone who's doing something that inspires you or someone who's doing something that aggravates you, both of those things can serve as a great reflection for seeing yourself and or for learning how to work with other people in more collaborative ways. And because Jupiter will be placing that opposition onto Sagittarius, this can also just be a time where if you're looking for places to grow or room to grow, opportunities for growth in your life, you may find it the most in relationships or in working with others. Furthermore, Pluto will be in your 3rd house in Aquarius now, so that's going to activate even more of an emphasis on that communication and on the transformation of communication that will be occurring gradually over this next chapter in your life. This can also emphasize themes such as sibling relationships and dynamics, working with coworkers or neighbors, or doing things in your local environment, as well as things that can be more logistic or technological or having to do with transportation. So this may be a time where you are setting yourself up in a new environment, whether this is a new work environment, a new living situation, a new neighborhood, or you're just changing something in the way that you are orienting to where you currently are at. If you've been looking for new tools to help you do something or learn something or achieve something in your life, this is a year that is also going to offer you the opportunity to experiment with different tools and systems. Additionally, the eclipses will be in your 5th and 11th houses, with the North Node in your 5th house in Aries. This is really activating romance in your life, dating, having fun, playing. It's also calling on the inner child within you, and that further emphasizes why this is a great time to get in touch with your creativity and expression and the things that you liked to do as a kid. Maybe there's some things that you haven't done in years that you might bring back this year, or try something new that really allows you to feel free and joyous and just to have fun. Some of you may also be finding ways of having fun that are more sustainable to you, or that give you a better context of how your daily life can operate. For instance, if having fun to you usually meant one thing that you only did once or twice a month, you might start incorporating something into your daily routine that allows you to have play as a part of your life on a daily basis. Overall, Sagittarius, this is a great year to experiment and experience and allow yourself to make a mess so that you can learn more about yourself and learn different ways of showing up in relationship and in communication with others. If you've been waiting to try something, or if you've been wanting to do something but you've been afraid of failing or making a mistake, this is the year to throw that out the window and to do it anyway. Thanks for watching, Sagittarius, and I hope you have a great 2024. Capricorn, welcome to 2024. This is a year where a lot of you are going to be feeling a lot less restraint on your life now that Pluto is finally making its exit out of your sign, and it will come back around at the end of this year for about 2 months, but then it's going to fully move into Aquarius by the end of this year. Sayonara to Pluto. And also with Saturn now in Pisces, Saturn is now out of its ruling signs. It was previously in Aquarius, and prior to that it was in Capricorn. So now that it is out of those signs and it's in Pisces, there's a different dance that it's doing that doesn't have as much texture in the way that it did in perhaps a more rigid or structural way with it being in Aquarius and Capricorn. So in other words, this is a time where you may feel that the limits are being lifted off of your life. If you've gone through a period of time where you feel that there's been a lot of adversity or challenge that you've had to overcome, this is a time where you might start to see that you can breathe a little bit easier and deeper and have more of an exhale in your life. At the same time, there's an importance on honoring everything that you've learned through the last few years, and even as far back as 2018, because this period of time has been very significant for earning your stripes in a way, or going through things that may have been a bit challenging so that you could develop internal tools and perhaps also external tools for navigating hard times and for getting through situations that might be challenging. That said, you might feel now that even if things are coming up this year that are a bit challenging or overwhelming at times, you now have the internal resources to deal with them. You now know how to navigate those tricky situations or those intense emotions. A lot of you might have been going through a period of time where you've been doing a lot of deep inner healing, whether it's been driven by your own interest in doing it, or whether it's been through the experiences in your life happening that have been leading you on a path of having to heal and having to process the things going on. With Saturn now in Pisces, it is the third house to Capricorn, which means that it's emphasizing your expression and communication. So some of you Capricorn placements may be gathering the insight and the lessons and the wisdom that you've learned over the past few years and starting to put it into words, starting to put it into a way of expressing. You might be gathering that insight so that you can share it with a group of people, with a specific person, or even just process it for yourself. In other words, you might be able to start finding the message within the mess of what you have experienced specifically over the last couple of years. That said, with Pluto now entering your second house, again, it's going to do a little dance back into Capricorn from September to November, but after that, it's moving fully into Aquarius. So with Pluto now really moving into Aquarius this year, there's going to be more of an emphasis on your finances, on the things that you own, on taking ownership, on the things that you as an individual may be interested in pursuing or attaining, and also learning how to create a healthy relationship with having things. For instance, you might start to really observe your relationship with material things in the material world. This is a time where you might start to identify the things that actually mean something to you, that you want to prioritize, the things that you are going after or trying to attain in your life, versus the things that you are not so interested in anymore or that do not actually benefit your life. Furthermore, you might really start to plant some seeds for the future of what it is that you want to set yourself up for in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now. And Capricorns are used to thinking ahead in that way very often, but now specifically, you might actually start to have a framework of what it is that you want to set yourself up with in the future. A lot of this is going to have to do, again, with the things that you've learned about life and about yourself over the past 4 or so years, again, even going back as far as 2018. But especially when Saturn was in Aquarius over the last couple of years before it entered Pisces in 2023, you may have noticed that there were specific things that shifted from 2021 to 2023 that allowed you to see the things that you value versus the things that you don't value, and to learn that we only have so much time and resources to pursue things in life, or that our focus is really important. So in other words, this may be a time where you are learning to discern between the things that you want to pursue and you want to focus on versus the things that you don't value anymore. There may have been certain pursuits in your life or ambitions that you had that served a younger version of yourself, but you might be going through an experience or a chapter of life now where you don't really care about those things in the same way. And this may be contributing to setting up a new vision for your future. This is a great time to reiterate and redraw and recreate any ideas that you've had for what you want your life to look like. Again, taking into account the wisdom that you've gathered over the last few years. And especially as Pluto is still kind of doing this dance between Capricorn and Aquarius, there might be some experiences in 2024 that further solidify this. For instance, if you've been pursuing a path in your career or in a specific relationship or with what you want your home life to look like or where you want to live or anything like that, there might be an experience this year that solidifies if you're going in the right direction, or if perhaps you want to step onto a bit of a different path. Or maybe there's a small adjustment that you can make in the way that you're approaching something with your mindset, with your beliefs, with your attitude, that will allow you to see something totally different. And that's the beauty of Pluto being in your sign since 2008, is that you've had this opportunity during that time to really understand what has transformed in your life. Whenever Pluto is moving through a sign, it is clearing the way and it is transforming the things that it touches. So whatever placement that you have in Capricorn, and especially if you have many placements in Capricorn, Pluto has likely transformed that part of your chart. For instance, if you have your sun in Capricorn, Pluto has likely transformed your identity or your sense of self. If you have your moon in Capricorn, Pluto has probably transformed your emotions or the way that you process emotions or how you feel about someone or something. So that said, this year is also a really great time to reflect on what has transformed in your life over that period of time, or even over the last couple of years as we've been preparing for this transition of Pluto moving into Aquarius. Additionally, with Jupiter in the 6th house to Capricorn, this is a time to really focus on your health this year and focus on the things that allow you to have a healthy daily routine. So changing something in your routine, such as an exercise routine, what you're doing to move your body or to get in touch with your body, or changing your diet or what you're eating, these might all be very important features of your year in 2024. If there's something that you've been wanting to change in your routine or in your lifestyle, this is a great year to do it with Jupiter entering your 6th house. And lastly, with the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, these are going to emphasize the eclipse seasons at the top and bottom of your chart, or in the cardinal signs squaring Capricorn. So what this means is that there will likely be more of an emphasis on your home life and your career, and there may be some pressure to find a balance between these two things. This is contributing to why a lot of you might be thinking about the future and about the system that you want to set your life up in. If the system that you currently have your life set up in, or if the foundation that you're building your life on is not working out for you, this is going to be a time where that becomes obvious, and that it gives you the tools, the resources, and the opportunities to really transform something in your life so that you're setting yourself up for the best lifestyle that you want to live long term. That said, overall, Capricorn, this is a great year to really get clear about the vision for your life, the vision for your future, and also allow yourself to rest and enjoy the time that may feel a little bit less restraining or restrictive to prior years. This is a year where if you have challenges arise, you will likely have the tools to deal with them. And it's good to give yourself that reminder that you've made it through so many things before, and you can make it through whatever comes up this year. And for a lot of you, you may find that there's actually more positive experiences coming on the horizon that are inviting you to remember what it feels like to have joy, love, and play in your life. So thanks for watching, Capricorn, and I hope you have a great 2024. Aquarius, welcome to 2024. So I'm sure you have heard by now that Pluto is in your sign. It's there, it's coming. And Pluto entered your sign for the first time last year in 2023, but then it re-entered Capricorn. And now as of January 20th, it is back in your sign. And this is going to be an important feature of this year because it's setting you up for the next 19 years. Now, Pluto will be making its way back into Capricorn only at the 29th degree later this year for a couple of months, but then it's fully in Aquarius by the end of this year. And again, it's going to be here for a while until 2043. The biggest message I can share with you, Aquarius placements, is that now is your time. Now is your time. You have been prepared for this. You have been built for this. You were born for this. And that may mean something different to each person watching, but what the message is for all of you is that with Pluto in Aquarius, it's about a new generation, a new time, a new era. And if you have Aquarius in your chart, you are a part of leading the way in this new generation and in this new reality. This is a time of stepping into your natural leadership abilities, your natural innovation, the natural invention that you feel called to or that you have the ability to pursue. If there's something that you are skilled in and that you've been holding yourself back with, this is going to be a time to really allow yourself to follow that passion or pursuit or to create something that you know is going to benefit your life or someone else or society at large. And I want to really emphasize that you have been preparing for this. And what I mean by that is that some of you may have gone through very difficult situations, a lot of adversity, whether this stems all the way back to your childhood or just over the last few years. And this year may show you why those things have occurred in your life. You may be able to get a bigger picture view to see how certain situations that may have been very difficult or challenging or certain losses that you had to go through have helped you to gain skills to navigate hard situations and to even help other people through them as well. This is where a lot of you may be stepping into leadership positions. This may look a bit different for each person, but if this is a time where you are feeling really called to go in a direction of a passion or a skill set that you have, this is the time to listen to that call. Some of you may even find that you're more passionate about something now because of a contradicting emotion that evokes this passion, such as anger or rage or aggravation or irritation or discomfort. You may notice that something really irritates you or upsets you that's going on in the world, in society, in your personal life, and that this becomes something that you're very passionate about working toward or bettering. And this is why, as we're entering this new generation and era with Pluto in Aquarius, you are being called to step into some kind of a leadership position. Now, there doesn't have to be a lot of pressure on that. This is not about a hierarchy. This is more so just about seeing that there's things in your life that you've likely felt called to, skills that perhaps you've already started developing. And now you might be entering a time where it's time to put those to use or show those to the world or create or invent something that you feel in your heart. And this is a really great year to really plant those seeds. Now, this isn't the year where you have to get everything done and achieve everything from year start to the finish. But this is more so a time where it's good to get the lay of the land, to create a blueprint of what it is that you feel called to work on or work toward. Because as we enter a slow transit with Pluto in Aquarius, you'll have many opportunities to lead or to create something. So this year's a great time to really sit with yourself and understand what it is that you feel passionate about. If you are called to be of service to others in some way, this is an important call to listen to. Furthermore, because there is so much air and fire emphasis this year, there's going to be a lot of activity that will be connected to your sign. With Jupiter in Gemini and the South Node in Libra, all of the air signs are activated. So this is going to be synchronistic for a lot of you with the ability to reach out to Jupiter when you need it and to reach out to the South Node when you need it. In other words, if you're looking for opportunities to grow or expand, those are going to be there. And if you're looking for opportunities to release something in your life, to let something go or to move on from the past, that's also going to be a natural evolution that occurs this year, especially through the eclipse seasons. With Jupiter in the 5th house to Aquarius, this is specifically highlighting the area of creativity, expression, artistry, dating, children. And so tapping into the ways in which you want to creatively express something or learn new skills that can allow you to express something is going to be beneficial to you this year, and you'll likely have more than one opportunity to do so. Some of you may also benefit from really going into some healing, inner child work, or anything that allows you to process things that have happened in your life, again, even as far back as your childhood. Furthermore, with the North Node in your 3rd house of communication, there's also going to be an emphasis on allowing yourself to express your emotions and to express the things that you are experiencing. If you have repressed anything in your life or have gotten into a pattern of repressing emotions or ideas or ambitions, this is going to be a year of allowing those to fully bloom. So don't be afraid of going after something, trying something new. This is the time to really do that, and holding yourself back won't get you very far. In fact, a lot of you may not even be able to hold yourself back much longer if you have been denying or delaying a passion or a pursuit that you want to follow. Additionally, Saturn is now in the 2nd house to Aquarius, which is going to put more of an emphasis on your finances and on your income and on the things that you own. Because it's Saturn, this may mean that you have some more opportunities for those things, but there can also be some more restriction that will be important to understand. A lot of you may be navigating your finances in a different way or setting up new systems for your money and for the things that you own. And some of you may also face a bit of restriction around this at this time, or feel that there is a period of time that might feel a bit limiting when it relates to what you are owning or investing in. But decisions that you make right now and the discipline that you have to see something through in the long term can help you out, even if it's not immediately showing you the rewards of those results. For instance, investing in something that's going to help you long term, but may not bring much of a reward right away. And the last thing I want to share for Aquarius is that we also have a Venus and Mars conjunction in Aquarius in February. And this is really bringing an opportunity to balance some of the feminine and masculine energies and to find a more nuanced way of looking at this beyond sex and gender. So a lot of you Aquarius placements may be seeing what this means for you and how this is showing up in your life, in your body, in your emotions, in your relationships, seeing what it means and perhaps just reflecting on what that means to have a blend and a balance of masculine and feminine energy. Whatever your thoughts or feelings or opinions are on that can just represent what this transit means. And some of you may find that leaning more into one side or the other, or transcending beyond it altogether, is going to help you to learn more about yourself and how you want to express. So overall, Aquarius placements, this is the year to step into your leadership and your natural abilities. And for some of you, this may mean getting a bit uncomfortable, but chances are you've already spent a lot of time facing some adversity or getting uncomfortable. So now is just the chance to implement those skills that you have learned and to really own who you are and what you are here on earth to do. At times that can feel like a big call or a big challenge, but if you lean into it, I have a feeling that the path will appear. Thank you for watching Aquarius placements. I'm sending you all lots of good love and energy, and I hope you have a great year. And Pisces placements, welcome to 2024. As I'm sure a lot of you have already figured out by now, Saturn is in your sign. Surprise! Saturn's been here since 2023, so a lot of you may already be understanding how this is showing up in your life, what perhaps has started to shift or change. Because Saturn is a planet that moves a bit slower, it stays in signs a bit longer. So 2024 is going to be a year where you really get to understand what Saturn is here to do in your sign. For a lot of you, this is going to have to do with taking on more responsibility or more authority in your life or more autonomy for your life. And a lot of you may also find that there may be some discipline needed to navigate circumstances in your life. You might be needing to set yourself up on a better foundation or to get serious about something that perhaps you've been avoiding. Saturn loves to be on a solid foundation. So if there's anything in your life that is not on a solid foundation right now, this is going to be a year of building yourself up to be able to transition into a more structured, systematic, or solid foundation beneath you. And for some of you, this may be literal. Because Jupiter is going to be in the 4th house to Pisces, there is an emphasis on home, and it could have to do with an actual structure of a home. Some of you may be building a home, buying a home, selling a home, or just thinking about what home means to you. If you've had an experience where you haven't had a stable home life or foundation for a while, perhaps you've been moving or traveling, or you've been living somewhere for school or work, and you may now be thinking about what you want your home to be like on a daily basis and also on a more long-term basis. So some of you may be thinking about what home means to you. And in fact, I would invite you to really sit with that this year and think about the qualities that you're looking for in your home. Some of you may be calling that in, manifesting a home this year, and others may just be noticing that where you're currently at doesn't feel quite like home. And all of this is great feedback and information for sitting with the idea of home, what that means to you, and what you might need to change or want to evolve in your life to set yourself up in a better way that allows you to feel connected to a sense of home and perhaps also to a sense of family. When we think about home, it can be connected to our present life, but it's also starting and forming and stemming from our early childhood experiences. So a lot of you may also spend this year just reflecting on what your life was like earlier in your life, what your upbringing was like, what your family dynamic was like, and anything that may be impacting the way that you identify with a home space. Processing and understanding family dynamics can be really helpful for you this year, Pisces placements. If you're trying to bypass or look over something without really taking the time to feel into it, you will likely be redirected back to the emotion that's underneath it. For instance, if something felt a bit unstable in your upbringing, or if something allowed you to feel more connected or safe with certain people or in certain environments, this is going to be a great time to tap into those emotions, whether those are emotions that feel very joyous and loving and connective, or the emotions that might be a bit more uncomfortable. Both of those will be very important when it comes to understanding what home means to you. With Pluto now entering your 12th house, this is in a very subconscious place. It is not as obvious to Pisces based on this position. So what this means is that there's going to be a lot of transformation happening in your life that is going to be taking place subconsciously. Now, this can be reflected in the things that you are doing or seeing or changing in your obvious life that is in front of you, such as making a move, making a transition into doing something differently, or shifting something in a relationship. But the changes that are really important are the ones that are going to be happening under the surface, in the subconscious, in the psyche. Some of you may have a more active dream life or sleep life, or you might just be really enjoying learning about your subconscious, getting in touch with those deeper parts of yourself. And for anyone who is really feeling called to do some of that deeper healing work, this is a great time to start doing that. Because Pluto is going to be here for 19 years, you don't have to rush into anything that you don't feel quite ready for, but you might be getting an inkling to follow a path of healing that is going to be really important for this next chapter of your life. And this year, you may start to plant some seeds with that, or some seeds may be planted in your mind about the opportunities and the paths of healing that are available to you. For instance, you may come across someone who is doing a certain type of program or therapy, or they're learning about something that might feel really interesting to you, perhaps in an intuitive way, because that may be something that you're called to follow this year, or perhaps later on in your life as well. So paying attention to the signs, the symbolism, and the synchronicity is going to be a really important part of your year as well, Pisces. There's an opportunity to get in touch with the deeper parts of yourself, the deeper parts of your emotions and of your subconscious. And again, with all of that, this really emphasizes the ability to change things that have been deep rooted within you. If there is a dynamic in your family or a pattern in your life or personality or relationships, this is a great time to really do the deep work to change something and to even see the effects of that change in your daily life as soon as this year, or as soon as you start actually paying attention to it. An example of this is that if you are in a relationship and you continuously are having a miscommunication about something, or you're seeing a pattern show up continuously in your relationships, if you actually face it rather than trying to avoid it, this is going to be a great opportunity to be able to kind of get in there and almost like do subconscious surgery on the things that you want to remodel or reestablish in the pathways of your mind and how that is showing up in the patterns in your relationship. Something like doing EMDR therapy or somatic therapy or tapping or anything like that would be really helpful for Pisces placements this year. Furthermore, with the North Node now in your second house to Pisces and Aries, and the South Node in Libra in the 8th house, this is really emphasizing finances for you Pisces placements this year as well. A lot of you may be having a shift in your financial life. You may be moving from a time of sharing finances with someone to being more independent, or vice versa. Some of you may be owning or acquiring something new. You may be purchasing something or selling something. Some of you may even have like a big windfall of money come in this year with that North Node there. That can be quite lucky for coming across something that you didn't expect, or for having more out of something that you've been working on. That said, with that axis emphasized, there's also the equal balance of everything in your 8th house, which means that just as easy as it can be to acquire money, it's also easy to spend money. So this is a time where you'll want to be aware of where your money is going and how it's coming in. If you do come across more money than you usually have, or if you come across some kind of a windfall or a new opportunity, I would recommend that this is a great year to really get clear about your financial planning and be able to have the savings or the reserves that you need to feel stable and secure. Again, with Saturn in your sign, it is all about stability and security. So prioritizing that in your life is highly recommended this year. If you have had a financial goal that you've been working toward, or something that you've been trying to change in your life, such as paying off debt or making a purchase on something or investing in something, this is a great year to pursue that. And lastly, with a Mars retrograde in Leo at the end of this year, that's going to be in your 6th house of health. So this may point to having a shift or a breakthrough or a reviewing time of your health. If you have had something going on in your health, this can be a time where something really shifts or changes by the end of this year into 2025. And if there's something in your health that you've been avoiding or ignoring, it may come to the surface around that time. So finding new routines, finding new solutions and new information about how to be your healthiest self, how to live in your healthiest routine or lifestyle, that may also be a focus for you Pisces placements this year. So overall, Pisces, this is a year about really honing in on what it means to feel safe, on what home means to you, both literally, physically, and metaphorically. This is a great year to do some healing work, whether that is in meditation, therapy, processing things in your subconscious, and also doing work connected to your environment and to your body, and processing the emotions that are weaved through all of those things. So don't be afraid to sit with some emotions, and don't be afraid to have the courage to change something in your life or to step into a new environment, because you might find that that is leading you down a path that is better for you in the long run. Focusing on stability and the systems and security in your life might also be important right now with Saturn in your sign. Thank you so much for watching, Pisces, and I hope you have a great 2024. And thank you everybody for watching this video. Welcome to 2024, and I hope that this has been a helpful guide for navigating the transits of the year ahead. And again, I currently have 2024 readings open and available. So if you've been wanting to book a reading, or if you'd like to have a reading for the year ahead or anytime this year, you can book one on my website at julia-kelly.com. Thank you all again for watching this and supporting this channel, whether you've been here for a while while or you're new here, I appreciate you. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And I'm sending lots of love and energy to all of you in 2024.